ways to go, and this is where it should become very clear that these videos were never intended to be a source of news for people. These are just some of my thoughts, some of the things that caught my eye the most about the news. There's a lot going on at NarniaWeb.com right now. There's a lot of news pretty much every day. There's a couple of big stories, and so if you want news about the films, head on over to NarniaWeb. These are just my opinions here. That's all this is. So a little disclaimer. But yeah, there's a lot going on. It's pretty wild. I talked about the storybook in a couple of videos ago, and I wanted to talk about something in there a little more. There's a scene in there where Miraz is interrogating Trumpkin. This is a slight change they made from the book, where in the book, Trumpkin gets captured by a pompous old fool. And here he actually gets brought before Miraz himself and interrogated, apparently. And Miraz, as he's interrogating Trumpkin, there's all these Telmarine lords and all these people there, and Miraz says, "We forget that Narnia was once a savage land," or something like that. And to me, other people are interpreting this differently, but it seems to me to imply quite clearly, it seems, that Miraz his public position on Old Narnia is that it does in fact exist, that all these strange creatures do exist, but they're evil. In the book, I've said a couple of videos ago that the book seems to imply that Miraz somewhere does believe it, or at least suspects that it's true, but doesn't want to believe it. He wants to stamp it out. But in the movie, it seems to me that they're saying that his public position has been, yeah, it exists, yeah, they're there, but they're evil, we got to kill them, which still gives him license to go to war. And it just, other people have said he's saying no. What he's really saying is, well, we've forgotten about it, that they were there, and now here's Trumpkin the proof, and oh, we forgot about it, here they are. And that doesn't really seem to make sense to me. He'd be saying, like, hey guys, we must have forgotten about these old Narnian creatures. We must have forgotten they exist. It seems more like he's saying that we're getting too comfortable about it, and it's like, that they actually that we're getting too like the old Narnians actually are a threat, and it's like, we forget that Narnia was once a savage land. He's like, yeah, that seems to me that's what he's saying. So he seems to be saying very publicly that he's believed for a long time that the old Narnians and the creatures do exist, which would be bad because it would mess with the two themes I identified, in an earlier video as being very important. The first one was the idea of the myth becoming fact. That fact that that a lot of the Telmarines have been, the younger ones at least, have certainly been taught that these stories aren't true. Caspian being one of them was always taught, except Caspian's kind of an exception, but we're taught that these stories aren't true. You shouldn't believe them, and then the myth is becoming real, and it could be said that a lot of the Telmarines, maybe a lot of the Telmarines even suspect it, but it's the idea that these things that everyone kind of accepted as myth is a fact. It's come to life, and also the idea of faith, that Caspian has to have faith that these stories are true, is an important theme. And so I'd be very much against this change if they imply that the Telmarine, that it's now there's a difference between what Miraz actually thinks and his public position. If you comment on this video, please keep that in mind. My issue is with Miraz's public position, not what he thinks in real life. It's what he's actually telling everyone he thinks, his public position on the matter. That's the important thing, not necessarily what he thinks. That's my issue. So I would be very much, I would consider that one of the biggest changes in the film if they made that, because it would mess with such an important theme in Prince Caspian. But hopefully my interpretation is wrong. I'd be overjoyed if it was. This new interview with Andrew Adamson and Harry Gregson Williams, they talk about the score. The score is apparently it's either done or very close to being done. And Harry Gregson Williams says that we don't meet the children until about 15 minutes into the movie, or he seems to say that. And that's very surprising to me, because I think it was in my 6th video, the one called The Flashback Problem, where I'd said that you wouldn't want to tell the story chronologically, because that would mean you wouldn't have the Pevensies in the first, good chunk of your movie. And they were the main characters in the first movie, so you wouldn't want to do that. Now, I was, of course, doing that with the assumption that they were going to blow the horn after, they fought for a while, like it is in the book. Even though we'd heard the rumor a long time ago they were going to blow it earlier. And here what they've done is they kind of getting the best of both. It's like they're telling it pretty much chronologically, starting with Caspian up till he blows the horn, but they're kind of countering the problem by having him blow the horn earlier. And I've talked in other videos about how this is both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because for a film, structurally, it makes more sense, and it, establishes a connection between Caspian and the Pevensies very quickly, and which I'd said in my 6th video, I believe, it was important. for the film version. The bad side of it is it spoils the mystery. In the book, they're transported to Narnia, and they really don't know why. They're not even sure they're in Narnia. They're not sure why they were called there. They're not sure why Susan's horn is missing. And then Trumpkin tells the story, and you piece it together, and by the end, it all makes sense. So I always love that mystery element. So it's a terrible shame that that's gone, but this seems like a good approach to it, but at a cost, But it's a film, I don't know. We'll just have to see it. Um, but that's it. Even if it's only 15 minutes, that is surprising and very audacious of them, I think, to start the film with the first chunk of the film not seeing the Pevensies at all. I think that's going to catch a lot of people off guard, which might be a good thing. I recently got the Prince Caspian official movie companion written by Ernie Malick. Ernie Malick is the guy that I met on the set. He showed us around the whole time, me and the other writers, and he actually said it's cool to see the section here on Toasty, because he actually said, in the book, in my book, we're going to explain what the name Toasty means. So that's kind of cool. But it's a really awesome book. It's got a lot of really cool pictures. Definitely worth getting. But it explains the bear scene. This is page 43. It explains the bear scene where Lucy's attacked by a bear, and it plays out apparently differently than in the book. In the book, they're just walking along and they get attacked, and Susan hesitates and Trumpkin shoots it. And in here, apparently, what's going to happen is Lucy sees a bear and thinks it's a talking bear, and walks up to it and gets quite a surprise and finds out it's not a talking bear, and then Trumpkin shoots it. And I think what they've done in the movie is created more of a longing for the old days than in the book, at least on the Pevensies part. The Pevensies part, my interpretation of the book at least, is that they get there and it's just excitement that, wow, we're back, we're back, we're back, we're back. And I guess you could argue that Caspian certainly has a longing for the old days. But I think they're choosing to emphasize that more. That it's more of a sad event, like, oh, the old days are gone. It's not quite as a joyous thing, in my opinion. That might not be a bad thing. I think if it emphasizes that important theme of return, I think that's perfectly fine. So that might be cool to kind of emphasize the sadness of it more. But I think this is a good change with the bear. I can't really. It seems like a really awkward scene, like Lucy walking up, being like, "Oh, a bear, a bear!" Just a random bear pops up. Ah! I can't quite picture how it's going to play cinematically. But I think that it emphasizes that longing for the old days of Lucy longing for the old days. And if you were going to have one character in the story, I think out of the Pevensies who was really longing for the old days to return, it would be Lucy. So this seems like very in the spirit of the story thematically, and it seems very in character for Lucy. It just seems like an awkward scene cinematically. So I'm not sure how exactly it's going to play out. I'll be looking to see that. But as an adaptation, I think it's a really good change. Also, we've seen a number of shots that look very similar intentionally, I would think, to shots in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like the first one I remember is the one that Narnia Brilliant pointed out, where Peter pulls out his sword in the trailer. It looks very similar to the shot in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when he pulls out his sword for the first time. And then another one is in the official companion here, when you've got the Pevensies. This is on page 183. You've got the Pevensies walking into Aslan's How, and you guys see you've got the centaurs. They haven't completed the visual effects yet, but you see the centaurs holding up their swords, just like in Care Paravel, only in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Aslan's in the center. But here you've got them walking in, very similar to Care Paravel when they're walking down there and they're holding up their swords. And I think that's great. That whole idea of return and the longing for the old days, I think that just brings that back more. So and then you've got another shot. I recently went to an event at Family Christian Stores and I typed up the whole interview thing and put it on Narnia Web. And so you can read about that. There's not much new stuff. But one of the new things is there's a little behind-the-scenes shot of the camera. It looks like it was backing up to reveal the cracked stone table, which looks very similar to how they do it in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when the girls are coming up and it backs up to reveal the table. I think it's really cool. Normally I would think it was cheesy, but for this film, since the whole thing is about a return and the old days returning, I think it's cool to kind of have those little references to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, visual references as much as possible. I think that's a really cool thing. Anytime I see one of those shots, I go, oh, cool, cool. So, yeah, definitely excited about that. A few days ago, by the way, I got a Blu-ray disc player. So I'm officially ready for the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe Blu-ray to come out, and I've started collecting Blu-rays already. So I'm so pumped for the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe Blu-ray release. So ready to go. I can't wait to see it. I kind of look at my Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe DVD now as just a preview for the Blu-ray disc, basically. So 45 days to go, and in the words of Narnia Brilliant, the plot thickens, and we haven't even seen the movie yet.